Good evening, guys. Please allow me to set up the screen for a few seconds. Good evening, guys. Please allow me to. Welcome to the program. So today evening we are going to see about some introduction on ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. Maybe if you are already working in some organization, you may be aware about ERP, as most of the organization, specifically manufacturing plant, uses ERP. But there are a lot of misconception, misnomer about ERP. Many people think it's a software, but more than a software, it is a process. ERP is a process, so you should understand what are these process so that you can effectively use the software. In fact, it is like one more Excel. If you are having a Excel, you are using it for some transaction. Same way, when the organization becomes very complex in terms of number of products, number of supplier, then you need a software to manage. But before a software, you need the process. Okay, ERP, we are going to see what are the process so that you can utilize the software in a better way. This session will be mainly useful for freshers or juniors who are looking for the job, because I have been getting a lot of queries in my mailbox asking to guide me how they can learn ERP. You have to keep in mind, be even before going for the software, you should learn the process. You may be a finance guy, HR guy, or supply chain, it doesn't matter. You should have a deep domain knowledge, then only learning any of these tools will be helpful. Like, you can also compare with the Excel or any analytical tool. The basic domain knowledge forms the foundation. So let us see some of the basic idea about ERP. Before that, I'll just briefly introduce about myself. My name is Pattabhi Raman. This is my LinkedIn profile. Most of you who are watching from LinkedIn may be connected with me or following me. If not, you are welcome to connect with me. I am searchable with a profile name Supply Chain Master. As far as my educational background is, I am an engineer with a PG diploma, PG in management as well as data science. I have nearly 2.5 decades experience working in this large organization. In fact, I was a team member when we implemented SAP in one of my organization 25-30 years back. So I was a part of implementation team, but predominantly I have been working in various domains in supply chain and logistics, which you can see in my experience. Last 4 years I have been heading the current organization known as Thoughtware Training Private Limited. Okay, and last 10 years of my career I have been heading the supply chain in this multinational organizations. Coming to my certification, these are mostly related with the supply chain. So if you are in the supply chain, you should be knowing the certification from Apex and demand driven Institute. I am also a certified purchasing manager. Apart from project management professional, I am also qualified in business analytics. Hope all of you are able to listen to me. Maybe you can type in the link and comment. You are able to see the screen, and my voice is clear. I can see your LinkedIn comments. Coming to our organization, we are based in Bangalore, 4-year-old organization. I am heading this organization. We provide both consulting and training in the field of supply chain and allied areas. Coming to ERP, once again, let us clear the misnomer. ERP is a process, it is not the software. There is something behind software. Like in Excel, there is no one who want to exclusively become specialist in Excel. Okay, they want to be expert in the domain, and they are going to use Excel in supporting their performance. You have to take ERP in the same way. ERP is a tool. It will supplement your process, because the process may be complicated. So we may be using ERP for recording some of the events which is happening at multiple areas, so that we are going to use it as a common database. In fact, this has become more of a transactional software. Okay, but recently even artificial intelligence is included, but they are very expensive. Okay, so you can use this as a transaction tool. Instead of noting down in your note and pen, possibly you are recording certain things in the software. And for that, to do your work effectively, you should know the background, what exactly is happening behind the system. Okay, so first thing is, this program is not about software. It's we will see software works in the background. Don't worry about the software, and don't go jump to learn the software. Rather, it is a session about implement superior business processes in your company, the processes that create a competitive advantage. Okay, because many youngsters, freshers, they want to go and learn ERP even before understanding what are the process involved. So if you want to become supply chain executive, ERP will definitely support. But by learning ERP, you cannot learn the process in supply chain. On the other way, it is reverse is true. If you know the supply chain process, you can use ERP. In fact, you can fine tune it. You can drive lot of information from ERP. Possibly, if some data is not capturing, you can make certain data captured. You can also extract report in a better way. Okay, so learning the process is the first step. And again, it is being repeated that it's not a software, but there is a working something behind ERP is a software. Okay, maybe we can call that as with a different name. Okay, so when we come to this process, what exactly we are talking about process? We are connecting organizational wide functions, so that you can balance the demand and supply, containing the ability to link customers and suppliers into the complete supply chain. So you can see, even it works outside your own organization, linking your suppliers and customers, employing proven business processes for decision making. So this is the highlight of ERP. You are going to employ the proven business processes, and you should know what are those processes we are talking and what is applicable in your domain. Of course, ERP is not only specific for supply chain, it can be used across the organizations. Okay, this is expected to provide high degree of cross functional integration among all the function inside the organization, thereby enabling people to run their business with the high level of customer service and productivity, and simultaneously lower cost and inventories. finally providing the foundation of our implementing your e-commerce. Hope this definition is clear. Okay, when we talk about the ERP, this is what we are talking about, the process, and the process enables these type of activity. Of course, you can also integrate financial activity supported by HR or other related function, including maintenance, admin. Everything can be integrated. But finally, organization is looking for revenue, how to maximize the profit, so you have to think in such type of a angle. Okay, now coming to the evolution of ERP, of course, ERP was there for at least 30 40 years in the current form, but origination was much different. In fact, we have started with the MRP in 1960s or 70s. That time there were mainframe computers mainly from IBM. You can see it is occupying the entire room with air conditioning, with magnetic punch tape, like that. Okay, but if you compare the power of such system, is inferior to what we use in the current mobile phones. Okay, that was the system we were using it those time, but it could not be avoided. Okay, apart from in the industries, it was used in some specialized application, maybe space and some scientific application. But when it comes to industries, mainly it was used for MRP, material requirement planning, sometime in the year 1960s and 70s. That's how it has evolved into multiple level. For example, second level is a closed loop MRP. Possibly that's where we are going to get some feedback and try to improve the mechanism. The third level is MRP2. Of course, here we are talking about manufacturing resource planning. Okay, so some more additional functions were integrated. When it came to ERP, we are talking about entire organization wide integration. Okay, coming to the primitive level, the MRP is the basic thing for which it was introduced in industries. Of course, the father was of MRP was Joe Orlicki. He has made the process. IBM has employed him to write the process for developing a particular software. Okay, he developed the process for MRP. In fact, you can see this book was published in 1977. Okay, I have a copy of this book. It serves as a Bible for people who are doing, especially MRP. You can see how this algorithms were prepared and what was their intention at that point of a time. Maybe possibly you will be surprised that we are continue to use even current today the same algorithm with so many changes happening in the environment, but basic ERP remains same in most of the organization. I have seen recently this book is even available even today from Amazon. Possibly you may not get a original one, used copy may be there. Then there were subsequent editions. Second is from George Flozen. They have clearly defined what should be the process when you are planning for a material. You need a system when you have a complicated setup. For example, one of my previous organization, we were building CNC machines. Okay, each machine required 6,000 components coming from maybe 100 or 150 vendors. So you need to plan the material considering inventory available, bill of material, and what is an order. So for those 6,000 material, it may not be manually possible to plan the material. That's where you needed a system. Maybe I can call this as a supercomputer. That's all. It's a super calculator. You need a system which can automate things. That's all. Nothing more than that. And whatever output you are trying to get is as better as what is your process. If your process is not good, your output may not be good. Okay, coming to ERP, this has several process. In fact, we have been discussing, if you have attending any of my webinars, Our entire business process can be combined in five categories. On the top, you have strategic planning and business planning, and the core could be the planning in terms of volume and mix. This is where supply chain and sales integration happens. One side, we also have the demand management handled by the sales or marketing, and other side you have the supply or capacity management. And finally, the fifth area could be execution, production planning and control. So if you are doing internally, it is through PPC, or externally through purchasing. So all this process is mapped inside a system called ERP. Okay, so you have to define what is strategic planning, what is business planning, what is sales and operation planning, how do you do the forecast. Possibly ERP is capable of doing each and every activity, but your organization may decide that I will opt only some basic levels, and additional level may not be required. Nowadays you have APO, where even you can integrate artificial intelligence and make lot of queries, but that will be expensive. Coming to ERP software, normally earlier SAP and Oracle was there as a leading vendors, but now you have a lot of people supplying ERP software. Okay. ERP predicts and balances the demand and supply. It is an enterprise wide set of forecasting, planning, scheduling tools with the links customers to supplier into the complete supply chain. So we are using a background, a software. Maybe you can call that as a enterprise software. Okay, when you have this process, then the software becomes very easy to use it. But for us, we are using that as a tool. You can keep it on the side. So you need to define what are the process, have a clear understanding, so that the process can be mapped in the software. Okay. Yeah, this definition we have seen sometime earlier, so I will skip that. Enterprise resource planning is a direct outgrowth and extension of manufacturing resource planning. This is where we were talking about previous version MRP2. But when it is coming to ERP, it's a powerful in that it applies single set of resource planning tool across the entire enterprise, provides real-time integration of sales, operating, and financial data, and connects the resource planning approach to the extended supply chain of customers and suppliers. So, whatever you do in the organization, everything is recorded in ERP, but you should know what you want to record and how you are going to use this data later on. Okay, so maybe when the things are not complicated, like we were seeing, you are going to record manually in a notebook. Next level could be Excel. Then finally, when things are becoming complicated, you are recording the events in ERP, based on which some intelligence can be applied so that you can use it in a better way. Okay, so ERP can be considered as a foundation tool for any improvement you can do, because everything is available there, but you need a method to capture the data, as well as the extract this data and do the analysis. Okay, of course, if you have not integrated with the APO analysis, you have to do manually. This is what most of the companies are doing. That's where some additional analytical tools may be required to it. If you read this statement, what it says is, if you are putting garbage in, you are going to get a garbage out, which means if the process is not okay, then the output is also to be not okay. So you need to do lot of business processes can be applied when you have this foundations. Let us see some of the process, how what are the activities which are important here. Before that, we will also see about the software is some background. Okay, it's maybe called as a enterprise resource as a or enterprise software. Okay, our focus as a operational professional is not on the software. That's a tool, we are going to use it. You should design what kind of software is suitable for your process, and also keep changing it to meet your requirement. Okay, coming to some of the process, one of the important process in ERP could be sales and operation planning. Hope all of you are able to listen. Any queries so far? I am able to watch LinkedIn comments. If you have any queries, you can always type. We will see some of the process which is being built into the ERP. What are those process and why it is required? In fact, each of this process, if you are in a supply chain, it's a ocean. Okay, this is where we are getting involved to clear about each of the process. For example, if you see about sales and operation planning, it's a ocean. Okay, it's one of the process here in ERP. If you are a supply chain or sales or marketing professional, you should know what are the this process and how it happens inside the system. Before that, any comments from the users, participants? You can always type in the LinkedIn comments. Of course, if you are watching from other media, I am right now not able to watch it. But if you are in LinkedIn, you can type your comments or ask for any clarification. So coming to one of the important processes, sales and operation planning. Shortly, it is called SNOP. So this is a process in which we are trying to manage the gap between supply and demand. So it's a five-step process involving various functions, starting from the demand, supply, and finance, and then firming up the figure. You know, in any organization, there will be always a gap between demand and supply, so there should be a consensus. So this process is used as a consensus building process, so that organization wide you have a single figure for the business operations. And this figure, whatever we are seeing, is at a product family level, and these figures have to be approved by the top management so that it can be input to the next process. Okay, the next process could be in terms of master production scheduling. So you need a approved figure at a higher level. That's where we are talking about volume level, that becomes input to master production scheduling. Of course, here input from demand management. Here we know demand forecasting is also one of the process which is going to give input to the master production schedule. Of course, here we are talking about end product level. So demand forecasting is one more further area where we need to understand what are the methods, how to make a forecast based on your past history, or if you are having new product, what are the methods available, and what is the error in each of this method. It should be clear so that you can utilize the process for the master production scheduling. So each of this process, you should have a clear understanding when you want to use the ERP. Coming to the next one, important process is possibly your organization have lot of distribution centers, possibly inside the country or across the world. So the material should also be planned across this distribution center, and this will requirement will come and integrate with the centralized MRP, so that the production scheduling can be done. So there are various aspects, how many echelons of distributions or channels of distribution are there, and where are their distribution center, and how much inventory you have to keep in each of the center. So if you have this knowledge of these things, then using the ERP becomes much easier. Here we use something called DRP, distribution requirement planning, which can come and integrate with the centralized ERP. Of course, when you want to use the ERP, you need a highest data integrity. For example, if you take physical stock versus system stock, it should match both. There should not be any gap, because based on that we are going to do various planning, including ordering of the material and planning for production scheduling, all based on the data available on the system. But if you are not capturing the data and sincerely following the process, you will face lot of issue. So this is where people begin suspecting the system or the ERP or the software. But the real thing is, people may not be honestly following what is required. That's where, if some organization wants to ERP, data integrity should be of a much much higher level. Then only ERP becomes effective. Of course, you should also have a knowledge of bill of material. Many of you, if you are in supply chain, you should know what we are talking here. So it lists out the items component required to make a final product along with the quantity required. This is the sample diagram shown. Of course, it can go to multiple level. And imagine the structure. If I say 5,000 or 6,000 component is required for assembling one single product, then you have something called routing. Okay, you should define in a manufacturing organization, if you are making a particular component, you should know which are the work centers, what machines, how much time, and what sequence it has to go. This has to be defined in ERP. ERP is not going to propose what you have to do. It is only working as a background. You should be an intelligent user to use it in a better way. Was it okay? So this routing has to be predefined on how to use it. You also have, for example, if you are trying to use it for capacity management, you should have knowledge on finite scheduling, which means you are going to fix the capacity and do the scheduling. There is one more process called infinite scheduling. Okay, so once the basic items are clear, then we are going to integrate with our suppliers as well as customer. Nowadays, once you release the open order, you are going to only release the schedule to the vendors. Maybe all this happens in an electronic way. No purchase orders is done. In fact, you can also integrate with your customer so that there is no duplication of work, no re-entry of order. So everything is available online. Possibly you should know what is happening on the forecasting, how to integrate your supply chain partner so that we have a common planning, forecasting, and replenishment. That's where this process CPR helps in understanding. And if you ask me, why should I learn ERP and which modules? Of course, you have to answer in the same way. Why you want to learn Excel? Why employees are looking for Excel? The same way you need to learn Excel. Of course, here it's not an expectation that you will become a software programmer or developers. No, then your field will be something different. Here we are talking as a professional, and you need a tool to improve your performance or record certain things. So for me, this is more of a transactional software. Okay, you are recording certain things, and the way in which you want to record, you have to design the process. Okay, so most probably, if you are in the supply chain, yes, knowledge is required. We use normally and PP modules. Okay, and there are a lot of training organization who offer high cost, high level training, which is not at all required. Because for learning this type of software, maybe you can take help from the domain specialist. You have to see who are which are the domain, and they should have a domain knowledge. Then only they can do a proper training. But if you see outside training, they do something on the background process. That's not at all required if you want to enter in any of the profession, other than if you want to enter into software development. And what knowledge level is required is only front end. Many times with minor training, you should be able to do it. Okay, so coming again to the skills required for your survival in the current market is you should have some type of a global certification in whatever domain you are there. Then also some have a analytical knowledge. Of course, this ERP, whatever we have seen, you should have a knowledge on the process. This is where the global certification helps you. What are those process? Okay, if you, for example, if you take a Apix certification, they define all this process. In fact, Apix has originated due to IBM sponsoring them to develop a process some 60 years back. That's how they are born. So if you need better knowledge on using ERP, then you should go for some globally recognized certifications. Now we have come to the end of this brief session. You are always welcome to contact us, go through our site, or you have the WhatsApp number. You are always welcome to reach to us. Now, any of you, any clarification, doubts, I am open for next couple of minutes. You can always type in the LinkedIn comments. If you need any doubts, clarification, or if you need similar short introductory program, you can always type so that I can do it in the coming days. Pratik Joshi says all good, nice to hear. Is there any doubt or comment regarding your understanding of ERP and what is being practiced in the organizations? So you can type in your comments if you have able to any guidance. You're always you can reach out to me if you need any professional guidance. So, do you like the program? Can participants comment on the LinkedIn? Is it useful in spending your time? You're always welcome to contact me for any doubts, clarification, or professional guidance. You can always leave your comment in any of the media from where you are watching. Have a nice evening. Thanks and bye.